This video shows the complete ignorance and arrogance of Denise Kemp, the worst councillor ever elected to the Shoalhaven Council, and that is saying something. This debate was to accept or reject the allowance policy, but Ms Kemp took an opportunity to attack the Ion Shoalhaven Group and the 300 people who signed a petition to cut Ms White's infamous overuse of travel allowance. You will hear objections from the non-SIG councillors, but this did not serve Ms White and her attack dog. More lies, more false claims, more exaggeration of the so-called savings and great work that Pat does for us. For your enlightenment, the utter ignorance of Denise Kemp and her anti-free speech sentiments. In fact, she wants to weaponise that policy to silence ratepayers. So watch the mess and remember, we are now paying this poor excuse of a councillor an extra 6% salary. Talk about a waste of money and space.
It's passed, so we then move on to CL 25179, Notice of Motion CL 25164, Councillor Expenses and Facilities Policy for adoption. So it's been moved by Councillor Kemp, seconded by Councillor Clancy and Councillor Krasmiri. Councillor Kemp.
Thank you again, Madam Mayor. I'm moving the recommendation with amendment by adding a point 2. That do not accept the petition referred to in CL 25164 and that the acting CEO investigate anomalies with this petition and how it was included in the business paper dated the 27th of May. And I would like a report back to Council on that.
Yep, so do you want to speak to your notice of motion?
Yes, please. I note that the petition didn't meet the Council's petition policy. A minimum of 500 people, when in the business paper it stated 176 people signed the said petition. How did it get into the Council business papers when it didn't meet the policy rules? 2, Councillor Krikolakis tabled that petition and stated some 300 had signed it at the last meeting. 3, the facts posted on social media by the petition organiser have been false misinformation to push people to sign this petition. Though this is not illegal, I highlight the fact that the petitioner also pushed the lies and misinformation around many sites, spreading malicious untruths to obtain the signatories to this petition, such as she has pocketed $500,000 in allowances. This is roughly all the rates paid in 1 year in Greenwell Point, stating $500,000 has been pocketed when this is lies. Stop the Mayor's cash car rides. The Mayor's travel expenses could cut 175 hectares of grass. Well, I'd like a little report on that, if I could. Blatant misuse of allowances by the Mayor.
Excuse me, Councillor Kemp.
Yes.
Noting that we're due to be dating the Councillor Expenses and Facilities Policy, I'm wondering if this is a point of order that the petition in this depth was a point, and whether we're going into this depth is not actually relevant to the Councillor Expenses and Facilities Policy.
So I'm not ruling on that point of order because the petition was part of the original report to Council. All right.
I also have a point of order on that I don't think item 2 is in order, given that it was included in the business paper as a submission that was received from the community and not in the context of a petition. And so I don't know how we can go back and remove that from the paper as a submission. Well, I'd seek advice from staff on that, please.
Through you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor. So I probably need clarification from Councillor Kemp, indeed, on this point. The original inclusion in the business paper for the draft policy that had come off exhibition included the petition, and I'll use the term petition fairly loosely, as a submission. It raised issues, irrespective of the number of signatories that were submitted. It raised issues to do with the policy that had been exhibited that were then evaluated as part of the draft policy. I understand now, and it's under evaluation, and I may ask for further comment from staff, that the submission then referenced and tabled by Councillor Krix at the last meeting was the same petition, but having had further signatories added before its formal submission as a petition. Now, it was probably incorrectly referenced as part of the previous council report as a petition. It should have been referenced as a submission, but that was the basis of its inclusion as part of the business paper for the policy coming off public exhibition. I'll see if staff have any
CEO there. I don't have the previous report open in front of me, but the previous report clearly indicated that a petition was received as a submission. It was submitted by Council's website as part of the submission process, and hence which is why it was included in the report.
So I'm ruling the point of order, Councillor Tribe, against it, and I'll ask Councillor Kemp to continue because it was part of the debate of the previous council meeting, and it was included in the reports, and this relates to the report that was in the previous council. So I'm moving forward. Councillor Kemp.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Such as she has pocketed $500,000 in allowances, and this is roughly all the rates said in 1 year, paid in 1 year in Granville Point, stating $500,000's been pocketed when this is lies, allegations that she has pocketed. The travel expenses could cut 175 hectares of grass, blatant misuse of allowances by the Mayor, and other lies posted around the media sites everywhere to gain 300 signatures. I state the petitioner was also involved in the sharing of a recent privacy data breach, and he shared that and the information...
Excuse me, Councillor Kemp.
That's libels. That's accusing the man of... I don't know the man, but...
what's the point of order?
That she's libel, is that one? Or do we do slander? I can't remember, one of those two things.
Well, yeah, so I'm ruling that out of order as well because it's quite common knowledge out there. So we'll continue, Councillor Kemp.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I state the petitioner was also involved in the sharing of a recent privacy data breach and shared the information across multiple platforms and social media sites. A previous Green councillor also posted the information obtained from that data breach. Extract 16th of July 23. The Mayor visited Bomaderry Bowling Club visit. On the 1st of April, the petitioner wrote, at 95 cents a kilometre, what a sweet deal in her little Kona. So the diary was used. They're just the extracts that I'm relying my information on. So the diary was used when Patricia White was a councillor. Now, that was applied to the petition as her job as the Mayor today, using her councillor expenses. You just don't get a car supplied by a councillor, by council, as a councillor. Okay, am I clear with that? She used her own private car. She used her own private car to be reimbursed for the work kilometres logged. Reimbursed. Reimbursement does go through council to be approved according to the expenses. Reimbursement dollars are set down by whoever governs the law according to the wages reimbursement. We don't set that price. How is pocketed reimbursement of an expense? Again, I state, how did this petition get to this council floor? Who approved it without checking if it was actually factual? Were the names on the petition valid? I move that the petition be disregarded because of the harmful misinformation it has portrayed across the social media and websites it relays because of the myths, truths. I move to seek a full investigation to be done by this council as to how this happened and why. I would like a report back to council so that this does never happen again. It's time to tidy up. This is my opinion. It's a political attack and I would like it reported to the relevant authorities for the record. Those who support and purport misinformation should be held accountable to the law. Thank you.
So, Councillor Tribe.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm speaking against this, and in particular Part 2 not including a submission that was received. There's no need for an investigation, as we've heard from staff. They jumped on council's Get Involved website. They had their say on the proposal. There was an exhibition, and that was then included in the papers. End of investigation. Someone made a submission. They were entitled to have their say, and they did. I find it absolutely extraordinary that we would go back and remove someone's submission that they've made, having their say on an issue, down the track because we didn't like what they have to say. I find that extraordinary.
Councillor Christolitis.
Just heard three motions moved within a statement. Do we get to vote on those now, or as a question? My apologies. Not speaking for or against. I've just heard three things get moved.
So the voting will be on the recommendation on the 2 points. It's been moved and seconded.
So we're not getting we're not voting on whether to remove the petition, whether to investigate the petition and a report back on the petition. That was just moved.
It's one recommendation. That is how it's been moved. Sure. So if you don't agree with the recommendation, then you will need to vote against. Is there any other speakers? No. So I'll just make some points of order as well. So I watched the debate last week, 2 weeks ago, which was very interesting online. This whole issue and the petition has been around the mayoral vehicle, all right? So I just want to point out to people and the community. One, the previous mayor's car has been sold and was sold at the end of the last term of council. The one that runs around that looks like it is a council vehicle, and it always was a council vehicle. Now, in relation to the mayoral vehicle, when I was elected as mayor, I spoke with governance staff in relation to, and the CEO at the time, about the mayoral vehicle. If I would like to take a council car as the mayoral vehicle, it will cost from anything from $43,000 to $65,000 with the choice of vehicle that a mayor can have. Council must pay for that vehicle. Under my own car, there is no charge to council for that vehicle. In relation to running costs, the running costs of my vehicle will extend out this year to about $25,000 because I've reduced the size of the engine and the capacity to be paid the dollar amount, thus saving council money on the purchase of a vehicle and the running costs. If the running costs on a council car, and we've been through this on the floor of council, all right, and this has been for the last lot of mayors that have had council vehicles or use their own vehicles, the running costs is a maximum of $32,000 for the council car. So add those two together. So a council car would cost, if I elect to give up my car and go to a council car, will cost $100,000. On top of that $100,000, and this is the misinformation, the council also provides the FBT payable, the capital depreciation payable, the cost of funds and the running costs of that vehicle. So that is well over $100,000. And that is why I elected to buy my own car and have only claimed the kilometres that I do. So thus, if you do the mathematics, I believe I'm saving the council around $80,000. So there is a huge amount of misinformation. And for those who do not want to accept that we disallow that petition, I would go back and read the council report again in 2 weeks ago. and I'm happy to discuss that with any councillor. So Councillor Kemp, write a reply.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Look, we all would have got this. Free speech in local government, New South Wales, in the email. Just like to highlight that I find it extraordinary that the people who support and defend the petition are so strongly, and I don't understand why that would be happening. Individual councillors also have an important role under Section 232 of the Act in facilitating communication between the local community and the governing body. In practical terms, councillors remain free to speak about the policies and decisions of the council, but they must accept these decisions are lawfully made if passed by a majority and must not misrepresent them, which is exactly what in my opinion, happens here. These are key provisions of the Model Code of Conduct that they can guide council when making public comment to assist in understanding what comment is not appropriate. Part 3 of the Model Code of Conduct prescribes general conduct. Obligations councillors must comply with. Among other things, these provide that councillors must not conduct themselves in a way that is likely to bring the council or other council officials into disrepute. It is improper or unethical, causes, compromises or involves intimidation or verbal abuse, or constitutes harassment by bullying behaviour as identified by the Code.
Excuse me, Councillor Kemp. Councillor Tribe.
I have a point of order. This is a right of reply, and now we're talking about the Code of Conduct, not the councillor expenses policy. I'm struggling to see the relevance to the motion before us.
Thank you. Keep going, Councillor Kemp.
And the last part in this part, which is all in my right of reply, the free speech in local government, constitutes harassment or bullying behaviour as defined by the Code or is unlawfully discriminatory. So, you know, with what's going on, I'd like to clean it up. I'd like to clean it up. I'd like to stop it happening. The them and us, the political and the non-political, and the harassment and the bullying, because I want it noted on this council floor it's happening, and I'd like to see an end be put to that. Thank you. I still want that report. Thank you.
We'll go to the voting. So what we are voting on is that the council expenses, as it was put on exhibition, and part 2 that in relation to the petitioner report comes back to council. Voting against is Councillor Tribe, Councillor Norris, Councillor Boyd, Councillor Johnson, Councillor Christolidis. Voting against. The rest vote in favour, so it has been carried.
On the council,